Argumentative thesis statements should be specific, focused, and arguable. Let me repeat that. Argumentative thesis statements should be specific, focused, and arguable. Let's look at thesis statements that are missing one of these elements. A thesis statement that lacks specificity looks like this. Athletes should not have to stand for the national anthem because people should be able to do whatever they want. This thesis statement is arguable. Someone could argue that athletes should have to stand for the national anthem. And this thesis statement stays focused on the idea that athletes should not have to stand for the national anthem. However, this thesis is not specific enough. The argument that people should be able to do whatever they want is not only broad, but false. If we lived in a world where everyone was able to do what they wanted, it would be a bad place. A more specific thesis would sound like this. Athletes should not have to stand for the national anthem because they should have the freedom to criticize the government when and where they please. Now this is more specific. The writer not only specifies that athletes should be free to criticize the government, but they also make the claim that athletes should be able to decide whether to stand or kneel when and where they please. You may disagree with this thesis. However, it is definitely specific, focused, and arguable. Now let's look at a thesis statement that is not arguable. Alaska is a cold place in the winter because it receives large amounts of snow and the temperatures are often below freezing. This thesis statement is specific when it explains how Alaska is cold in the winter. The temperatures are below freezing and there's lots of snow. These are clear indicators that Alaska is cold. And this thesis also stays focused on Alaska being a cold place. However, this thesis statement is not arguable. Unless you are a polar bear or from Mars, you are probably not going to argue against the idea that Alaska is cold in the winter. An arguable thesis would look like this. Alaska is a terrible place to live in the winter because of the sub-zero temperatures and the large amounts of snow residents must live with. The idea that Alaska is a terrible place to live in the winter is definitely arguable. Some people may like the cold. Perhaps they enjoy ice fishing, cross-country skiing, or snowmobiling. Now let's look at a thesis statement that is not focused. Celebrities should not have the responsibility to act as role models. They are just people too. People make mistakes. For example, Kanye West has made many mistakes. He is a good guy, I believe, but he has made mistakes. Mistakes should not define you, just your music. The idea that celebrities should not have the responsibility to act as role models is arguable. And this thesis is specific about Kanye West, people making mistakes, and music should define you and not your mistakes. However, this thesis statement is not focused. The point the writer is trying to make is unclear. We could clean it up by writing this. Celebrities should not have the responsibility to act as role models because, despite their fame and despite their wealth, they are just regular people. The standards put on celebrities should be no different than the standards put on normal people. Now it is your turn to fix some thesis statements. Keep the core argument of each statement the same, but be sure each statement is specific, focused, and arguable. Oh, and be sure you clean up the grammar so the arguments are clear. Good luck.